Trump's new thing is pardoning members of the US military charged with a variety of different types of war crimes. And in that effort, he has a lot of Republican defenders, including California Congressman Duncan Hunter, a guy who is facing his own charges of a different variety. He's a big defender of members of the military charged with those war crimes. And in defense of them, at a recent town hall, he actually admitted to his own bizarre behaviors, as you'll hear in this audio.
Eddie was a Navy chief. Around 40 years old, I think he's 39, 19 years in the Navy, 8 or 9 combat tours. There was a disagreement in their platoon. So a year after coming back, some of the SEALs in his platoon basically came to the agreement that they would accuse Eddie of killing the ISIS terrorists, okay? Because Eddie did one bad thing that I'm guilty of too. Taking a picture with the body and saying something stupid, and then texting that. So he took a picture with the body, with his knife out, and texted it to some buddies and said, I got this one with my knife, okay? I've taken pictures just like that when I was overseas. Didn't text them to anybody, didn't put them on Facebook or Instagram, but a lot of my peers, a lot of us have done the exact same thing.
Okay, so to be clear, the individual that he's talking about there and comparing his own behavior to is Eddie Gallagher, someone we've talked about it several times on the show. Now, you might believe that you just heard Duncan Hunter describe the one bad thing that he did, which was taking a picture. Sort of begs the question, what did he take the picture with? That is the corpse of a person that he had just murdered. Among the accusations against Navy SEAL Eddie Gallagher are that he stabbed and killed a wounded person. Also shot at non-combatants, posed for a photo, and performed his re-enlistment ceremony next to a corpse, according to a charge sheet from November. Gallagher has pleaded not guilty. So yes, he did take the picture with the corpse after making it a corpse. He also would sometimes get into the machine gun mounted in the back of an army vehicle and then begin firing at residential areas just randomly.
Yes.
I don't know if he took a picture of that though.
Yeah. So Duncan Hunter has two different problems in that little speech. One is the lie and the other is the truth. So the lie is, oh, he did one little thing. No. If you notice, in the middle of Duncan Hunter's story, he said they had a disagreement in his platoon, and all of the other Navy SEALs turned him in because that's what Navy SEALs do all the time, right? Oh, it's a slight disagreement. He was jaywalking in Iraq, and we all decided to turn him in. That's not what happens. No, all the other Navy SEAls turn you in when you've committed a horrible crime, including killing wounded people you've already captured, or shooting at civilians wantonly. Possibly leading to the deaths of anyone who was on the receiving end of those random bullets, including men, women, and children. So the fact that the other Navy SEALs turned him in should give you a pretty good sense of how bad the action here was. And by the way, credit to those guys for caring about war crimes, caring about doing their jobs right, and turning in a bad apple. So a lot of times people say, oh, they're just bad apples, but the good apples never turn them in. But in this case, they did. So it gives you the sense of the severity of the crime and the integrity of the other Navy SEALs. Now we get to the problem with the truth. Duncan Hunter's like, oh yeah, I committed war crimes too. I take pictures with the bodies of the dead. Now, that's not on the same level as the other crimes that we just talked about. I don't know what the ramifications for that are. I'm sure that it's wrong, and so I suppose, I'm sure that he should be reprimanded for that since he just admitted it. So in militarily, I don't know what form that reprimand would take. He didn't admit to killing anyone illegally, thank God. I don't know if he did or didn't, but the fact that he seems to diminish significant war crimes does not give you a lot of comfort.
Yeah, and we're gonna play a little bit more video of him that will enhance that idea, that he perhaps does not take this entire thing very seriously, even though the thing he's admitted to is about the lightest of all of the charges that I've heard. There are individuals who were snipers that decided to just shoot the elderly and kids when they had no reason to believe that they were threats. Again, randomly firing to residential areas, maybe killing people, maybe not, that's part of the game. Those are obviously far worse charges. But I do want to focus on one thing that he said in that first section. He said they all came together and they decided to accuse him. So he is sort of implying that it's just an accusation. And sure, all of these things will be investigated. It's a bit odd that he posed next to the corpse that they're saying he didn't actually kill. Everybody there agrees that he did. But the narrative there is that lawyers are, he says in one case, he says the military justice system is corrupt, and it's run by lawyers who target war fighters as if it's this ongoing campaign to just destroy anyone who happened to serve abroad. Well, look, I haven't tracked all of the people who've been charged with war crimes in the decades that we've been fighting in that country, but I can name a few that are being considered to be pardoned, like 3, 4 individuals. How many people served in Iraq? Tens of thousands. If this is a campaign against our war fighters, it's still in its incipient phase, I would say. There's only a few people whose crimes rose to the level where, yes, we're having a conversation about whether this is what our soldiers should have been getting up to. Now, in the case of Duncan Hunter, a guy who has a very loose attachment to the rule of law here domestically, get an idea of what he thinks the philosophy for our war fighters abroad should be.
If the American people and if the American people want to send men like me overseas to kill bad people, then let us do that, okay? If you don't think that we should be doing that, then maybe we shouldn't be in Iraq, maybe we shouldn't be in Syria, maybe we shouldn't be in Afghanistan, then let's not do it at all. But don't pay me and train me to go kill bad people for our people in this country, meaning for the American people. Don't have me go do that and then come home and be punished because you made me into a person that kills bad people. I was an artillery officer, and I was an artillery officer in Fallujah in 2004. We definitely killed civilians. That's what war is. So it was not intentional.
This case.
That's what war is.
Okay, so when the reporter points out the difference between accidentally killing civilians, which is its own issue, and intentionally killing civilians, he made this noise,
Yeah.
as if the distinction between those two things is unimportant.
Yeah, and he kept saying, you sent me to kill bad people. Well, okay, well there's an important qualifier there, bad people. We didn't send you theoretically to kill innocent people. As it turns out, we killed a lot of innocent people. Just over the weekend, Bill Kristol and Jennifer Rubin, who writes for the Washington Post, were yelling at Bernie Sanders because he was impolite to them about the Iraq war. Well, we killed nearly 1 million innocent Iraqis in that war. I would argue that's slightly more impolite. But to guys like Duncan Hunter, he just doesn't see the distinction. He's like, you said bad people, I killed Iraqis. Innocent, non-innocent, So does that now ratchet up the level to which I would want to see if Duncan Hunter committed war crimes? Yeah, because he seems to not really care about that distinction at all. And no, not all Iraqis are bad people, and not all US soldiers think like Duncan Hunter. In fact, apparently most don't, and that's why these guys got turned in. There's a couple of people that Trump is thinking of pardoning, and at least 2 of them, including the person we've been talking about, Gallagher, and Army Major Matt Golston, are accused of premeditated murder of innocent people.
Yeah.
And so that's not what we call bad people in this country, but Duncan Hunter is a terrible guy. He's of course facing indictment on federal corruption charges, so he doesn't seem to really care much for the rule of law at all.
Yeah, and just again, a reminder, like he's talking about like, hey, crazy things happen, war is a crazy time. And he's saying that all of that, whether it's firing artillery that might hit civilians, which again, that sort of chance that you might be killing civilians is one of the reasons that we should be far more careful in the military adventures that we choose to go on, is somehow the same as a soldier seeing a wounded Iraqi, taking out his knife, walking up to this person who's being treated for his wounds, and then murdering him with a knife is the same thing. I don't understand how any reasonable person doesn't hear that comparison and think Duncan Hunter is an absolute monster who doesn't belong in the military, doesn't belong in government, probably should be being watched and I would assume counseled for the obvious damage that has been done to him, because his sense of morality is at best topsy-turvy, if not shredded beyond any repair.
Now, this is the guy who, of course, says we should pardon war criminals because of how much he cares about people in the service. Now, let's remind you that part of the corruption charges was that he would rip off his own donors and others and say, well, let's just pretend that we bought material for veterans and service members. So we're not gonna give it to the people serving, of course not. I'm just gonna keep the money and spend it for my own purposes, and we'll pretend that we did something good for people in service.
Yeah.
So he doesn't really have much respect for the decent people serving the United States military either. Yeah. He's happy to rip off people under their name. So that's the kind of guy Duncan Hunter is. He barely won re-election, and that does not speak well of that district. They knew a lot of these charges, not about the war crimes, but certainly about the corruption charges ahead of time. But this time running against Amar Kampa-Najjar, who's his Democratic opponent, he might be on the ropes. But look, if you're in that district in California, you're gonna get to decide who you are. Because you've now seen all this, and if you think, yeah, I like that guy who doesn't care between distinguishing innocent civilians and bad guys that we're fighting, and is okay with murder and thinks that people should be pardoned, and then makes a mockery of the people who serve the country by ripping off and doing corruption in their name when they didn't do any such thing. Okay, then that's who you are, and enjoy that life, but that sounds pretty miserable to me. But yes, you do have another option in that district.
And one more thing for context, remember that this Duncan Hunter is the guy who ran the most Islamophobic campaign ad, at least in recent history. That was very fast that they got that going. Yeah, just accusing him of being a terrorist because of his background, the background of his family, his family heritage. And so this guy believes that if you or anyone in your family was or is Muslim, you have no place in US government. He also believes that Iraqi soldiers and civilians, you can just murder them if you want, and that's totally fine, it's totally part of the war. Like if you believe that those are separate things, if there's not some sort of ideological connection between the way that they practice Islamophobia here in the US and the way they believe wars should be prosecuted, I think you're insane. Well, maybe as insane as Duncan Hunter.
Actually, now it all makes sense when you connect the two things. His opponent is Amar Kampa-Najjar, who is not even Muslim. He's Christian, he's raised by his Christian mom, who is Latina. His father's side are Palestinians. Now he doesn't have contact, certainly with the people that were in the ad. Duncan Hunter Jr. had to go back to his grandfather and accuse his grandfather of terrorism. He never met his grandfather. His grandfather died well before Amar Kampa-Najjar was even born. But now it actually, at least I understand the connection, because Duncan Hunter thinks, I don't care. That guy's an Arab. He looks brown. He has a Muslim sounding name, good guy, bad guy, running for Congress or someone I'm supposed to kill, I can't quite tell. So that's who Duncan Hunter is. Of course he's running Islamophobic ads here in America in his own election campaign. He's the guy who said, who cares who they are in Iraq, just kill them. You just saw it on tape. Innocent civilians or guys we're supposed to target. Who cares? So that's who Duncan Hunter is. The TYT Plus app is now available on iOS and Android. Download to get more TYT content at tyt.com/app.